If you enjoy today's content, then please consider supporting Top Hat Gaming Man on Patreon. Yeah! Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Top Hat Gaming Man here, once again to bring you the history and story of yet another games console. A few weeks back we looked at part of the Laserdisc story, which included focusing in on Sega's cancelled Laserdisc add-on for the Mega Drive system, and of course the Pioneer Laser Active, which saw a retail release in the early 90s. The Pioneer Laser Active was not the first ever Laserdisc based gaming device though. In fact, there was another Laserdisc system which came into existence nearly a whole decade earlier, back in 1985. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of the RDI Halcyon. Yeah! Today's story begins all the way back in 1968. A screenplay was written and produced into a movie by a dream team consisting of one of the greatest ever American movie directors, Stanley Kubrick, and one of the greatest ever British science fiction writers, Arthur C. Clarke. This film, of course, was none other than 2001: A Space Odyssey, a film that remains a hot favourite to this very day. To give you a quick refresh with regards to the premise of this film, the story follows a voyage to Jupiter after the discovery of a mysterious black monolith. The film is noted for its scientifically accurate depiction of spaceflight, pioneering special effects, and ambitious imagery. However, above all else, it's famous for one particular character, known as HAL 9000. HAL 9000, aka hysterically programmed algorithmic computer, is the main antagonist in the film and is mainly depicted as a red lens which pops up throughout the ship. This rather unsettling artificial intelligence speaks in a soft, calm voice and has a somewhat conversational manner. Later into the film, HAL begins killing off crew members by turning off their life support, with a belief that they may be jeopardising the mission. Eventually, one of the film's protagonists manages to deactivate HAL, which results in one of the most iconic scenes in the film, consisting of HAL pleading for the hero to stop, and finally expressing fear. As this is happening, HAL regresses to his earliest programmed memory and begins to eerily sing the song Daisy Bell.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your heart to do. I'm half crazy, hopeful in love with you. It won't be a stylish marriage, I can't afford the carriage, but look sweet upon the street on a bicycle built for two.
So basically, the film is framed in many ways as a bizarre sort of warning regarding the dangers and darker sides of artificial intelligence. You could argue that this message is perhaps more important today than it has ever been before. After all, many of the things you do today are completely controlled by artificial algorithms, which includes you finding my very channel, for example. Creepy computers have brought us all together, and every YouTuber today lives in fear of what this dreaded algorithm is going to do to us next. In fact, I recently watched an amazing prophetic interview with Space Odyssey creator Arthur C. Clarke, all about what the future would be like, and he made some accurate predictions, to be fair. In fact, much of it is so accurate, I may as well show you now.
Well, with that movie 2001, you're projecting us into the 21st century. I brought along my son Jonathan, who in the year 2001 will be the same age as I am now. Maybe he will be better adjusted to this kind of world that you're trying to portray.
The big difference when he grows up, in fact, if we wanted to wait for the year 2001, is that he will have in his own house, not a computer as big as this, but at least a console through which he can talk to his friendly local computer and get all the information he needs for his everyday life, like his bank statements, his theater reservations, all the information you need in the course of living in a complex modern society. This will be in a compact form in his own house. He'll have a television screen like these here and a keyboard, and he'll talk to the computer and get information from it, and he'll take it as much for granted as we take the telephone.
I wonder though, what sort of a life would it be like in social terms? I mean, if our whole life is built around the computer, do we become a computer-dependent society and computer-independent individuals?
In some ways, but they will also enrich our society because it'll make it possible for us to live really anywhere we like. Any businessman, any executive could live almost anywhere on Earth and still do his business through a device like this. And this is a wonderful thing. It means we wanted to be stuck in cities, we better live out in the country or wherever we please, and still carry on complete interaction with human beings as well as with other computers.
Whilst we now may live all the way in the futuristic world of 2018, I am well on my way into living in Arthur C. Riley's predicted future. The way things are going, this YouTube channel is going to be turning over enough profit to allow me to live remotely off of my laptop, like so many other creators are doing today. I will be able to choose to live and work literally anywhere I want on Earth and generate the same income as a result. This is a great time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. However, like the interviewer queries about in the video, this computer-centric society certainly has plenty of drawbacks, especially in social terms. We are now at the point where social media dependencies and addictions are arguably destroying many young people's lives, and we are under constant surveillance due to the fact that practically everything that ever happens to anyone is logged online by somebody. We live in a world with a lot of pros and cons, but at least we are not at a Space Odyssey level of weird quite yet. Like honestly, who would want a creepy self-aware monster like How to exist in real life? Well, apparently a gentleman named Rick Dyer in fact did want How to become a reality, so he embarked on a quest to make this dream come true. Rick Dyer is most known today for writing the story and creating one of the most groundbreaking games of all time, in the form of Dragon's Lair, the arcade laserdisc based full motion video game from 1983. Dragon's Lair, along with other laserdisc games such as Space Ace, were all produced by RDI Video Systems, a gaming company founded by Rick Dyer himself. RDI had bigger aspirations than just arcade games though, and wanted to enter the home entertainment market and release a system in 1985, which is where the RDI Halcyon comes in, a games console / home entertainment device which was inspired directly from HAL 9000. The RDI Halcyon was interestingly set to be the first CED based system, rather than a laserdisc one. CED stood for Capacitance Electronic Disc and was a very early form of video and audio playback via an analog video disc. The playback on this system was developed by RCA. This laserdisc precursor allowed video and audio to be played back on a TV set using a special needle and high density groove system similar to phonograph records. Further into the system development, CEDs were swapped out for laserdiscs as the stylus positioning constraints inherent in CED technology meant that it would struggle to stop the action in games when pending player inputs in these somewhat cinematic adventures. Regardless of all of this, CED production by RCA went out of production before the Halcyon's development cycle had finished, so this was a wise move in several ways. Moving on from the laserdisc tech, the RDI Halcyon was an interesting piece of hardware. On the surface, it was based around a Z80 microprocessor with 64K memory partitioned out to ROM and RAM. However, further for this, the system featured a separate speech recognition computer, which provided the extra power needed to recognise human speech, perhaps giving it the autonomy to turn off human life support on the whim. Using its proprietary firmware and its communication with the Z80, it would indicate what words it recognised and the probability of confidence it calculated for the match. But this is all enough from me at the moment. Let's check out the machine in action via a demonstration from the creator Rick Dyer himself. Yeah!
Joining us now is Rick Dyer. Rick is president of RDI Video Systems, and Rick was the one responsible for Dragon's Lair. And joining Rick is Jay Eagle, executive vice president of Proton, and Jay is involved with the audio and video elements of Halcyon, an incredible new system we're going to see in just a moment.
Stuart, what, have you become an airline pilot, or what is this piece of headgear you have?
No, actually, I'm about to communicate with this machine, Halcyon, we have out here. And you get these guys to explain it, and then I'll talk to it.
Good. Well, so far, we've talked about two uses of laser storage technology. One is in video, in a shoot-'em-up style game. The second one was in mass storage with the CD-ROM. Rick has had a machine under development here for some time. I read about in the technical press called the Halcyon, and I'd like to have him explain to us what he's got.
Halcyon is basically, well, it's hard to communicate to the people that have never seen the product because there's nothing to relate to it. I guess the best way would be to use, if you remember the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, there was a computer in that movie called HAL. And with HAL, you were able to talk to HAL. HAL could talk back to you. HAL would recognize your voice and say your name. HAL had intelligence, he could learn, and he could control functions within his environment, and that's what Halcyon's all about. That's what
okay,
it's
so
capable.
the elements of Halcyon that are similar to HAL, let's say, would be the speech recognition, the speech synthesis, and some form of intelligence and learning?
That's correct.
Going on? Okay, good.
Now, how important is the laser disc component to this? Is the laser disc just carrying the pictures here or the logic?
The laser disc is really carrying both. It contains information where the computer is presenting you with situations. You have to think and make the decisions as far as how you want to handle them.
Okay, now this I understand is the very first time you're actually showing off Halcyon on television anywhere. Let's get going. Show me what this thing can do.
Okay, I think maybe the first thing is we'll just turn him off and turn him on. As you remember, you were talking with Hal before, so now when we turn him on, all you have to do is say your name. He will recognize your voice and recognize who you are.
Okay. So
welcome to Halcyon. Do you want to play Sayer's Quest?
yes.
Yes. If I have your voice print, please say your name or else press any key.
Stuart.
Nice to see you again, Stuart Hefe. Can I call you Stuart?
Yes.
Yes, okay,
Pretty
Stuart.
impressive. A little bit
Last
familiar.
time you played your score was 764.
It's referring to the last time.
That's right.
50,000.
I did pretty poorly.
Do you want to continue your game?
Yes.
Yes, please insert the disc for part 1 of Sayer's Quest.
And now we'll see some pictures, Rick.
You'll continue right where you left off.
Okay.
Okay, now what you've done is really combine some technologies that have really been around. Well, you've got the recognition of speech, trainable speech recognizer is something that's available today, and also the speech synthesis is also something that's available. So you've combined in a package here that really makes a story and what is that unique part of it?
Well, first of all, I think the speech recognition is the most advanced speech recognition that's ever been put on the marketplace. Yes, there has been speech recognition. There has never been speech recognition of the high caliber that this has. It has the ability to understand up to a 200-word vocabulary.
Take this staff to the fairy circle in the forest and give it to the fairies.
So, as you can see...
Now that's me, sort of. I'm the character in this story.
That's right. You were that character.
And I've got a choice now. Sorry, Hal.
Let's go to the forest clearing.
1.
What?
1.
Speak consistently, Stuart.
1.
Sir.
2.
2.
Is that okay? I mean...
Sure.
I'll try this different story then.
Oh, fellow.
Who are you?
Nigel the Huntsman. I know much of these woods. For example, I know that the Crystal of Lothar will enable you to overcome the familiars. Come back sometime and I'll share a story with you.
So the character just gave you some information.
Okay, and we're not moving linearly through the story then, right? I mean, it's branching depending on what
That's
happens.
correct.
Say again.
When you're talking, he's listening to you.
Sorry, Hal.
You want me to unplug you so he
Yeah,
can't
sure.
hear
I
you?
think we've gotten that point across.
As you can see from this previous clip, although flawed in some ways, the Halcyon's ability to speak was overall very impressive for the time period, especially when you take into account this was all about 30 years before the likes of Siri and Alexa invading our homes with their algorithmic speech. From what we have seen so far, the Halcyon seems to be a fairly exciting piece of technology for the time, so what exactly happened with this system? Information online with regards to this thing is sketchy at best, and it seems hard to clarify exactly if the system was commercially released at all. Rick Dyer's company, themselves, RDI Video Systems, declared bankruptcy in 1985, killing any hope of this platform ever succeeding. From a TV news report I found from 1984, RDI estimated that they would sell 25,000 units in their first year, and that 1 or 2 units were located in selected stores in San Diego at the time. This report also states that the Halcyon would retail at $2,500, which is an absolutely ludicrous price for a home entertainment device, even if we take inflation out of the equation. Despite this though, according to the same report, Dyer states that they managed to pre-sell many units. Further to all of this, we do know that apparently about 10 units were built and given to the company's investors, and hilariously, at least 1 unit appeared as a prize on the game show Sale of the Century, just adding to this crazy system's legacy. Outside of all of this, not much is known about the true production scale of this system. Out of the units that do exist, 2 games were created to go with it. These were NFL Football LA Raiders vs SD Chargers, which is a bizarre cheesy American football full motion video game where you select the actions of the player, and Thayer's Quest, which was a fully animated Dragon's Lair like game. Thayer's Quest was later ported to the PC and other platforms in 1995 under the name of Kingdom The Far Reaches. Outside of this, other games were announced, such as one that would allow you to hook up your exercise bike to the machine and let you pedal amongst the planets, a version of Cobra Command which would be voice activated, Orpheus, and Voyage to the New World. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the strange story of the RDI Halcyon, the system that turned Arthur C. Riley's Space Odyssey into a living reality. Let me know in the comment section if you know any other interesting factoids about this failed system I failed to pick up on. Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoy learning about obscure systems, I've created a whole playlist featuring over a dozen cancelled consoles which never featured commercial releases. Further to this, I create all sorts of gaming trivia videos on this channel, so if you like what you see, I would appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, hit the notification bell and left a comment to let me know what your thoughts are on today's content. Which gaming story would you like to see me cover on here next? Finally, my channel Top Hat Gaming Man is partly funded from the fantastic support and donations I receive from my top-notch Patreon supporters. So shout-outs in the credits to Carl Johnson, Shizuka Kobayashi, Greg Hooper, Richard Clark, Harold Webb, Synth Spaces, Kevin Verhaley, David Mountford, Andrew Bazansky, Edward O'Reilly, Tom Elliott, Mark S. Hines, Gary Pinkett, The Gaming Muser, SpongeMatt B, Quang DX, Stuart McDermott, Nash Quad, Michael Baker, and all of my other patrons. You are making my dreams more realistic by the day.